almost died at my own birthday party. And the person who orchestrated it didn't even show up. Everyone in my family knows this. Or let me rephrase that everyone should know this. But I've learned the hard way that should and does are very different things when you're not the favorite. See, I have an older brother. Marcus. The golden child. The kind of guy who never got grounded, even when he crashed my mom's car at 17. The one who brought home C's and got. He's just not a test taker. While I got lectured for an A-. He could do no wrong. And apparently, neither can his wife Lindsay. Lindsay is polished, controlling, pedia president energy with a passive-aggressive smile that could curdle milk. We've never clicked. She once told me when I was 24 that freelancing isn't a real job, and followed it up with, "But I guess it's cute that you're trying." And yet somehow, she's become the puppet master of our family's every move. I hadn't seen her in months. But her shadow showed up at my 29th birthday anyway and nearly killed me. Let me set the scene. I'd spent weeks planning a low-key party at my apartment. My close friends, some old coworkers, my boyfriend Caleb, and a small group of family members. I had a local bakery make a vanilla bean cake with lemon curd filling, me absolute favorite, and explicitly told everyone that strawberries were off-limits, even as decorations. I even printed out a little "No strawberries" note and taped it to the fridge as a joke reminder. Everything was going great. Laughter, wine, music. For once, it actually felt like the day was about me. Until my mom arrived. Late. She walked in with a bakery box and a huge grin. "Lindsay told me you'd forgotten the cake," she announced. My stomach sank. "What?" I asked, laughing nervously. "No, Mom, the cake's right here." But she was already opening the box. There it was. A 3-tiered whipped cream monstrosity covered in sliced strawberries and pink glaze. My throat itched just looking at it. I stepped back. "Mom, I can't be near that. Are you serious?" She blinked like I was speaking another language. "Oh honey, it's just fruit. Lindsay said it's organic. It'll be fine." The room went quiet. Caleb stood frozen with a drink halfway to his lips. My best friend Mia actually whispered "Holy S" under her breath. "Mom," I said, voice shaking, "I've told you 100 times I'm anaphylactic. Strawberries aren't a joke. You need to take that outside. Now." She frowned like I was the one being difficult. "But it's your favorite. The cake we used to have when you were little." I hadn't had strawberries since I was 11, back when they first landed me in the ER. She knew that. That's when Mia stepped in. "I'll take the cake downstairs," she said gently, already grabbing the box with a napkin. I left the room and locked myself in the bathroom to breathe. Later that night, after the party had ended early and I'd thrown away half of my food just to be safe, Caleb told me something that made my blood run cold. He overheard my mom on the phone with Lindsay while he was out on the balcony. Apparently, Lindsay told her, "Emma's being dramatic. Just bring the cake. She'll make a scene, but maybe it'll finally make her stop acting so fragile." And my mom listened. She brought a potential death trap to my birthday because my brother's wife thought I needed to toughen up. I was shaking. Not just from anger but from grief. Because now I couldn't pretend anymore me mom didn't protect me. She chose someone else's comfort over my safety. I sent a group text the next day. No more contact with Lindsay. No more family dinners, where I sit quietly while Marcus and his wife talk over me. And no more pretending I'm not angry. My brother called me hysterical, said I was being over the top, and accused me of turning mom against the family. I didn't respond. But here's where it gets worse, and this is the part that still makes my skin crawl. 2 weeks later, Mia ran into Lindsay at a grocery store. She was buying more strawberries. Mia didn't even say hello. She just walked past. But Lindsay turned and said, "Guess Emma's still allergic, huh?" With a laugh. Like it was funny. Like nearly killing someone is a punchline. So now I'm wondering, for cutting them off completely? For choosing to spend holidays with Caleb's family instead? For deciding that protecting myself means walking away, even if it means I no longer have a mom in the way I used to? Because I swear to God, I didn't overreact. But part of me still feels like I'm mourning something I never really had. The days that followed were strange. Quieter than usual. No calls. No "let's talk about what happened." Just silence. And for a while I welcomed it. Caleb was gentle. He made me soup, offered to stay over every night that week even though he had early shifts, and never once tried to fix it. Just sat with me on the couch, letting me fall apart in a way I didn't even know I needed. He held me when I cried without asking questions. That was something my family never learned to do. But about a week later, the silence cracked. Started with a Facebook tag. My cousin Ellie, sweet but naive, posted a group family photo from Marcus's early birthday dinner at my mom's house. The caption read, "Family is everything. Grateful to be surrounded by love and laughter, sparkling heart blessed." There they were. Mom, Marcus, Lindsay, even my Uncle James, who usually avoids drama like the plague. All smiling, clinking glasses. There was a giant strawberry cheesecake in the middle of the table. I stared at the image for a long time. My first instinct wasn't anger, it was shame. Like somehow I had brought this on myself. That I was the difficult one for ruining the image of family unity. That I was missing from the photo because I'd made myself unwelcome. Caleb, reading over my shoulder, gently closed my laptop. "You don't need to see this." But I did. Because for the first time I really saw it. I wasn't just the black sheep. I was the scapegoat. I was the one who always overreacted. Who needed to get over it. Who was too sensitive. And because of that, I became the one they could hurt again and again without guilt. And the more I thought about it, the more pieces clicked into place. Like how at Marcus's wedding, Lindsay made berry spritzers, the signature drink, and waved off my concerns. Or how she once joked, "If you were allergic to air, would we all have to stop breathing?" I had laughed then. I didn't know better. Or how last Christmas my mom forgot to label the dessert tray and I had to skip everything just in case. She said it was an accident, but now? I wasn't so sure. I finally understood something I'd been denying for years. This wasn't carelessness. This was cruelty dressed up as tradition. I decided to call my Aunt Marlene. She's my dad's sister, lives in Seattle. We're not especially close, but she's the only one on that side of the family who ever treated me like I mattered. She picked up after 2 rings. "Emma." Her voice already sounded concerned. I hadn't spoken to her since Easter. "I need to ask you something," I said. "Did Mom ever tell you about the strawberry incident?" A pause. "The birthday party?" "Yes. She told me you had a little tantrum and kicked her out." My face went cold. "She said what?" "She made it sound like you were being dramatic over a fruit," Marlene admitted, then added quickly. "But I knew there had to be more to it. That's why I didn't say anything. I didn't want to make it worse." I exhaled slowly. It wasn't a tantrum. I almost ended up in the hospital. Again. And then I told her everything. Not just about the party but about Lindsay, the phone call Caleb overheard, the pattern of neglect, the dismissiveness, the erasure. She listened. She really listened. When I was done, she said something I hadn't heard from anyone in my family in years. "I believe you." I almost cried. "I always wondered why your mom downplayed your allergy so much," she continued. "When you were a teenager, she used to say things like, 'Emma's just a little sensitive, she'll grow out of it.' I thought maybe you had." "No," I said. "I just learned to be careful on my own." She hesitated before saying, "You know, when your dad was sick, she used to blame you for being too high maintenance. She said she had enough to deal with." That stung. Not because it was new but because it wasn't. I think a part of me had always known my mom resented how much attention I needed, even if it was medical, even if it was just to survive. After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my apartment, turning her words over in my head, and then I did something impulsive. I posted about the birthday incident online. I didn't use names. I didn't say my mom or my sister-in-law. Just a family member, and their relative, who knowingly brought my allergen to a closed space after being reminded multiple times, resulting in a panic that ruined the event. I ended the post with, "If you think this sounds petty, ask yourself this: how many times would you forgive someone for endangering your life, just to prove you're overreacting?" The post blew up. Hundreds of comments. Strangers telling me they had similar stories. Some from people with nut or dairy allergies. Others just from people with narcissistic parents or golden child siblings. I didn't feel alone for the first time in years. Of course, word eventually got back to the family. 3 days later, I got a long text from Marcus. It started with, "Can't believe you'd air our dirty laundry online for strangers to dissect. and ended with, "You've always needed attention. Congrats, you got it." I didn't respond, but Lindsay did. She emailed me directly, a full-on bullet-pointed email. One of the lines read, "I'm sorry if you feel your allergy was disrespected. That's not an apology. That's corporate PR speak." Another line, "I just wanted to make your party feel special. Strawberries are elegant and celebratory. Sorry you didn't see it that way." Elegant and celebratory? Is that what we're calling attempted murder now? Caleb told me not to respond. Mia begged me not to respond. But I did. Just one sentence. "You knew." She didn't reply. But the damage was done. Or maybe the damage had always been there, I was just finally shining a light on it. What surprised me most were the messages I got from other relatives. Not all of them, but some. Cousin Ellie, the one who posted that photo, sent me a DM that said, "I'm sorry. I didn't realize how serious it was. I thought you were just being careful, not that it was life or death." That's the problem, though. People don't take women's pain seriously until it becomes dramatic. Until someone collapses or ends up in a hospital or posts something viral. But I don't want to almost die every time I try to be heard. 2 weeks passed. My mom never called. Never texted. Not even to defend herself. So I wrote her a letter. Not to send. Just to write. Because sometimes you need to say it all, even if it's just for yourself. In it, I told her that I missed the idea of a mom more than I missed her. That I had begged for her approval for too long. That I was done performing for a family that treated my health like an inconvenience. I ended the letter with, "I deserved a mother who didn't choose denial over my safety." After that, something inside me finally relaxed. I booked a weekend trip with Caleb. Just the two of us. We went hiking in the gorge, stayed in a tiny cabin with a fireplace, drank cocoa from chipped mugs, and watched the rain streak down the windows. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt safe. But I knew the story wasn't done. Not yet. Because a week after we got back, something happened that flipped everything again. I got a voicemail. From my mom. Her voice was shaky. Not angry. Not defensive. "Emma, I saw the post. I know it was about me. I didn't think it was that bad. I swear I didn't. Lindsay told me it would be fine. That you were exaggerating like always. And I believed her. And now everyone hates me. I don't know what to do." There was a long pause. Then, "Please call me. Please." I didn't know how to feel. Anger? Pity? Relief? I played the voicemail 3 times before deleting it. Because here's the thing. I've spent my whole life waiting for that kind of confession. Waiting for my mom to say, "I'm sorry." But even now, when she finally kind of did, it wasn't about me. It was about how she felt. Everyone hates me. Not "I hurt you." Not "I almost killed you." Not "I see what I did and I will never do it again." And that's the twist of this whole thing. Sometimes closure isn't an apology. Sometimes it's realizing you've stopped needing one. A few nights after the voicemail, I dreamt I was back in the kitchen from my childhood home. It was the version I remembered before everything got complicated. Warm yellow walls, the smell of vanilla from a half-baked cake, and sunlight pooling on the tile floors like it had nowhere else to go. In the dream, I was 8. My mom was humming, frosting a cake, white buttercream, clean, soft swirls. She turned to me and said, "I made it without strawberries. Just for you." I woke up crying. And for the first time, I didn't feel ashamed of those tears. Something strange happens when the people who hurt you also once loved you. When the hands that neglected your boundaries also tucked you in at night. You grow up confused. You shrink yourself to keep the peace. You learn to call chaos home, and emotional starvation independence. But I was learning finale that love is not always safe. That a family's love, when conditional or weaponized, can harm more deeply than hate. 2 days after the voicemail, I received a handwritten letter. From Lindsay. The envelope was pink. Of course it was. Inside, the note was covered in exaggerated cursive and perfumed so strongly it gave me a headache. I read it twice, trying to decide if it was a joke. She started with, "I'm saddened that things have escalated to this point. I only ever wanted what's best for this family, and sometimes that means making tough choices." Then came the part that made me laugh out loud. I realize now that your allergy is more serious than I had previously understood, and I apologize for underestimating your condition. But you must understand, I come from a family where people didn't get to cry wolf without proof. We were tough. We didn't let sensitivities define us. I stopped there. Proof. Was she expecting me to carry around a scarlet EpiPen survivor badge? There were more gems. I only brought the cake suggestion to your mother because I wanted to preserve tradition. A birthday without strawberries just didn't feel like Emma. You used to love them. I thought maybe this would bring you back to yourself. That part broke something inside me. Bring me back to myself? The audacity of believing she understood who I was or what I needed better than I did. It wasn't nostalgia. It was control. And I saw it for what it was now. I folded the letter and placed it in the drawer with the others. I had started collecting them. Notes from family, emails, screenshots. A paper trail of pain. Not for revenge. For remembrance. Because forgetting had always been the easier path. And I was done choosing easy over honest. That week I started therapy again. My new therapist, Dr. Ross, was sharp, empathetic, and refreshingly direct. In our first session, she asked a question I hadn't been ready for before. What if your mom never becomes the person you need her to be? I sat there for a long time before answering. I think I'll grieve it, I said. But I won't chase it anymore. And I meant it. That Friday, Caleb's parents invited us to a casual dinner at their house. They'd always been kind, but distant, careful not to overstep. But since the birthday fiasco, something had shifted. They'd sent flowers. Left a voicemail. And at dinner, Caleb's mom squeezed my hand before dessert and said, "You always have a seat at our table. We mean that." It was just 5 words. But they landed like a parachute after a long fall. I excused myself to the bathroom and sobbed. I wasn't used to love feeling like safety instead of performance. Later that weekend, Marcus finally texted again. Just one sentence. "So this is it, then? You're really cutting us out." I typed out a reply 3 times. Deleted each one. Finally, I wrote, "I'm cutting out abuse. If you want to be in my life, you'll need to start by acknowledging what happened. All of it." He didn't respond. But 3 days later, I got a letter from his daughter. My niece Sophie. She's 15 and smart in the way teenagers can be when they've seen too much and no one's told them to shut it down yet. Her letter was short. "Aunt Emma, I'm sorry for what they did. I saw it. I don't think it's fair. I hope you're okay. I'm not picking sides, but I just want you to know I believe you." She included a little drawing, holding a big cake with no strawberries, written across the top. She'd drawn me smiling. I cried again. And this time it wasn't from pain. It was from recognition. A small sign that maybe, just maybe, the next generation doesn't have to inherit the poison of silence and denial. I mailed her back a card. Inside I wrote, "Thank you for seeing me. That's more powerful than you know. You don't have to pick sides, just always pick truth. That's enough." As summer faded into early fall, the intensity of everything began to soften. But something inside me had permanently shifted. I no longer entertained calls that came with guilt instead of growth. I no longer felt obligated to fix things I didn't break. And most importantly, I no longer believed that loving someone meant making myself smaller to fit into their comfort zone. Caleb and I started talking about moving. A bigger place. Maybe outside the city. A garden. A dog. Somewhere that felt fully ours. And one afternoon, while clearing out my office, I found an old photo album my mom had given me years ago. Most of the photos were from childhood messy pigtails, paint-stained shirts, and birthday parties before the allergy was diagnosed. There I was, 6 years old, covered in strawberry juice, laughing. I stared at that photo for a long time, and for once I didn't hate it. I didn't feel betrayal or loss. I just saw a girl who didn't know yet what would come but who still deserved to be loved and protected, no matter how inconvenient she became. And I made myself a promise. I will be that protector now. For her. For me. And for anyone else who's ever been told they're too sensitive, for needing to be safe. The final confrontation didn't come as some dramatic blowout or holiday meltdown. It happened on a quiet Tuesday evening in late October. The air was cool, sharp with the scent of dried leaves and the kind of silence that seems to carry weight. I was home alone. Caleb was working the night shift, and I was curled up on the couch, watching a documentary with half an eye, when my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. For reasons I still don't fully understand, I answered. Emma. It was my mom. I sat up straight, heart already pounding. How did you get this number? I asked Marcus. I should have hung up, but I didn't. I needed to hear whatever she thought she had to say. There was a long pause. Then, I read your post again. The long one. The one about allergies and family. I said nothing. She continued. I saw what people said. Some of them called me abusive. They weren't wrong, I said flatly. More silence. Then, barely above a whisper. I didn't think I was that kind of mother. You were, I replied. Maybe not always. Maybe not intentionally. But yes, you were. Her voice cracked. I thought I was just doing my best. I think your best always came with conditions, I said. Your love came with strings, and if I didn't perform, if I didn't fall in line, you made me feel like a burden. Especially when I needed protecting. You're not a burden, she said quickly, too quickly. I laughed, bitter but not cruel. Then why did you make me feel like one for most of my life? She didn't answer. And that silence told me everything. Finally, I asked the question that had been simmering inside me for weeks. Why did you bring the cake, Mom? More silence. Because Lindsay asked, she said eventually. She said it would make peace. That it would be a gesture to reset things. I thought maybe it was a way to finally get everyone together again like before. I blinked. Like before what? Before I developed an allergy that nearly killed me? Before I stopped being easy to manage? You've always made things harder than they needed to be, she said, almost gently, like that softened the blow. And that was it. That sentence. That belief. Still alive and well inside her. I didn't ask to be allergic, Mom. I didn't ask to need more care. I didn't make things hard. You just didn't want to rise to the occasion. You don't understand what it's like to be a mother, she snapped. To have everything on your shoulders. Your dad was gone and I had to hold it all together. You were sick and dramatic and always needing something. And there it was. The confession. Not the kind I had hoped for, but an honest one. She hadn't seen me as her child. She had seen me as a weight. Yeah, I said quietly. I needed things. And you made me feel like needing care was a crime. The call went quiet again. The only sound was her breath. Are you going to cut me off completely? She asked finally. I didn't answer right away. Not because I want to punish you, I said. But because you still don't see what you did. Not really. You see the consequences, the public shame, the loss of control. But you don't see me. You never did. She started to speak. I ended the call. And I cried. Not out of grief but out of release. I had finally said it. To her face. Without trembling. Without asking for permission to feel. The next morning I wrote an email to Marcus. Subject line: closure. Body. I'm not asking for you to choose sides. But I am asking you to stop pretending this didn't happen. What Lindsay did was intentional. What Mom did was enabling. And what you've done is excuse it again and again, because it's easier to silence me than to stand up to the people you live beside. I won't be attending family events. I won't be exchanging holiday cards. I'm stepping away not because I don't love you, but because I finally love myself enough to stop begging for scraps of dignity. He never replied. I didn't need him to. Over the following weeks, something incredible happened. The world kept spinning. My chest stopped tightening every time my phone buzzed. I started painting again, badly but freely. I went apple picking with Caleb and spilled cider on my jeans and didn't care. We brought home a mutt from the shelter and named him Clove. One night I sat outside on the patio, wrapped in a blanket, Clove at my feet, and looked up at a sky so full of stars it didn't seem real. And for the first time in maybe my whole life I thought, this is peace. Not perfection. Not resolution. Just peace. Because here's the thing they don't tell you about walking away from toxic family dynamics. It hurts. Even when it's right, it hurts. But it's the kind of hurt that eventually gives way to healing. I still sometimes think about the little girl in those photo albums. I think about what she deserved. About the birthdays she never got to enjoy fully. about the way she learned to smile through discomfort, to shrink, to apologize for being alive in the wrong way. And every time I think about her, I make another quiet promise. You never have to go back. We are not repeating the story. Because my story, the real one, didn't end at that party. It began the moment I chose myself over their comfort. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not fixing the damage but refusing to inherit it.